Hello and welcome to New Filmmakers Los Angeles in partnership with Movie Maker magazine. My name is Danny DeLillo. We're here at the South Park Center. I'm delighted to be joined with Atlas with his movie, Nighthawks. Let's take a look at the clip. Atlas, thank you for being here. Welcome to the New Filmmakers LA family. But my goodness, thank you for your film. I've got so many questions because I just loved it. For those that haven't seen it, tell us a brief synopsis.
Nighthawks centers around a mid-century, like Don Draper-esque hero, and we follow him on this like mini odyssey that culminates in a coming out at a sort of like speakeasy like gay bar in Brooklyn, and it just kind of derails from there.
It's amazing. Firstly, it's so incredible to see this story in this time period, in this time. It was exquisite to watch this film noir. Like, my goodness me, I've never seen anything like it, and it's always so refreshing. Now, I know you're from New York City, and it was set in Brooklyn, had that very sort of New York vibe, but where did this inspiration come from in the story to turn it into a film?
So the script started, I was just inspired by a bunch of actors I was working with, and I think, you know, as a lot of actors will probably say, especially now, like it's very frustrating. The industry's in a space where it's very frustrating for like new talent to break in. So I was just inspired by them. They were like super talented, and as a writer, I always love mixing up genre. I'm not afraid to pull from whatever influences. I worked in fashion before, so I feel like that very much informs the way I work as a writer. So it just started from the script, to be honest.
Well, you certainly got the production design and the costume design. Everything was just on point, like, my goodness. Where did you shoot this? Everything from the exterior to the interior was just exquisite. How was that process?
So that was kind of the biggest pre-production challenge, was figuring out, I definitely believe that when you do period, you have to be absolutely stringent towards period and your vision. Otherwise, I feel like it's hard when you see something that's not fully realized in period. So the biggest thing is bringing 1959 alive in LA it's doable, but for this kind of a budget situation, it's not totally easy to do. So we had to we thought big, and we went. And we were like, well, for the exteriors, because there were quite a few, I didn't want to have to shoot B-roll in New York. I didn't want to have to do we shot film, and I believed it should have been shot in an analog style, so we didn't have the luxury of doing VFX or anything. So after we looked at sort of the exterior locations that we could maybe have done, budget-wise, it made more sense instead of trying to transform a New York City or a LA alley into a New York City one in the 50s. We just were let's see if the studios will help out. So believe it or not, we got to shoot at Paramount. So we went and scouted at all the big studios with New York City lots. We scouted at Universal and Warner Brothers. Everyone was very, very supportive and sweet. And Paramount worked with us so we could shoot there.
That's amazing. It was breathtaking to watch visually, seriously. This time period, I can't help but, as a queer person, I'm watching it and my PTSD is just running through my veins, just hoping everything is gonna be okay. But you really captured how it would be in that particular time. In terms of just you got the accents, the dialogue, how was your process and the writing process? Because obviously it's a lot of combinations when you make a period piece. It's also the language we use of that time period and that place.
Yeah, I think from a writing perspective, I took the same sort of standard that I set for the filmmaking, which is that it has to be period. So the 40s and the 50s and the 30s are a huge constant source of inspiration and reference point for me. I love German Expressionism. I love all of those directors of that era, and I've watched them my whole life. So I think embodying those lives verbally was it was a little bit of second nature to me because I'd just been so exposed to those films. And
Yeah.
I leaned on, I wanted to embrace those archetypes that we almost like recognize commercially. Like you could see like with the ladies, it's like we have like a Grace Kelly type and a Liz
Yes.
Taylor type. And then we
Yeah.
have this sort of unseen sort of genderless female cabbie type, which we have seen
Yes.
actually. Like On the Town is one of my favorite musicals, and we had a female cab driver there. So like we just took these like all these kind of like 40s and 50s archetypes that I've seen in all these studio films, and I tried to give them like a livable, breathable life in this space.
I mean, it was delicious. Like that's how I didn't know the word because all the characters that you built. Now listen, including yourself, your actors were amazing. Like everyone just had such distinctive character, and there was not just in vocally, but just in their movements and what you captured on camera. So you play a starring role. You did a fantastic job in that as well. What was the experience like for you and the actors in this particular film?
So I mean, I'll start with mine. So it was kind of crazy to be totally honest. Like I was just. Wrote it and was attached as an actor, and I was not planning on directing this initially. We actually had someone attached, and I guess how things are meant to be, like it didn't work out. And when we were like, what are we gonna do? Everyone was like, you have to direct this, and I was like, I don't want to direct this, to be honest, because it's a huge undertaking. I wrote it, I knew what it would take to get it to where it is, and I was like very nervous with just like acting and and being there for like I always figured I'd kind of be like almost like a rehearsal director for the actors, because the acting is a lot, to embrace period, the physicality, like everything starts with the dialect, but then it doesn't stop until it's in your body, and like people don't realize that we don't sit like that anymore.
No.
There's characters who presumably would have been in like finishing school for a long time.
Yeah.
Their spines are physically different.
Yeah.
So it takes a lot of commitment to just be able to reasonably pull that off as actors. So I was really nervous, and at the end of the film I gave a shout out, a thank you to Larry Moss, who's a legendary acting coach, and I was lucky enough, I had like called my producer. This was just like while we're in the middle of pre-pro, and I was really feasibly nervous because I do think that as a director, your responsibility is to the story, and I was like, I know how hard I had to push my actors at that point now that I was a director, and I was nervous. I was nervous that I wasn't going to be able for a first-time film to pull off getting behind the camera, in front of the camera. I was nervous that it was going to take too much away from my rehearsal time. I was just nervous. So I called my producer and I said, hey, like, I don't know what to do. And everyone was like, you can't not do this. And I was like, I'm nervous. So I'm asking you. And she was like, well, is there some, like a mentor or something? I didn't, and I just gotten back to sort of acting and in years I hadn't done it. So I was like, no, but there is someone I've always wanted to work with. And that was kind of also what we kind of just did. Like everything throughout the film, I set the bar super high. Like I set the bar at a studio standard.
Well, you got high standards in the production, my goodness. And I'm really glad that you mentioned that, like, about the time period, about how we don't sit like that. I believed everybody was from that period, like exquisitely. It was incredible.
And that's just a testament to how dedicated everyone was, and to how hard, how hard they all pushed themselves. But yeah, so I did, I just needed someone to tell me it was okay to do this role and I could handle it. So I booked a session with Larry Moss, and I just was like, I just wanted to read for him and see what he thought, where it was at. And it was one of the most like healing and transformative experiences I've ever had. If anyone's met the man or read his book or anything, he really is like a genius, and he in a way gave me the permission to give myself the permission to do the role. So
I didn't recognize you when I saw you yesterday at the festival. I was like, no, it can't be, and because your whole demeanor was just completely different because you're an actor, obviously, but still. Okay, so this was part of our queer program, obviously, of New Filmmakers LA. Seeing your film has to be seen on a big screen in a movie theater. Like, it just has to be. What's the experience been like for you?
It's been amazing, because as a writer, when I wrote Nighthawks, I'd come off of like a bunch of rounds of meetings off my last script, and I think anyone who's taken a project out and met with everyone, it can be kind of disheartening in a way. I'm not a commercial writer, like I'll say that right now. So when I wrote Nighthawks, I was just like, I'm gonna write what I want to write. I'm not gonna like have notes in the back of my head, or like kind of write to appeal to an executive or to an audience or to a client. And so doing that, I was nervous because a lot of it was things that I believed as a writer, but was kind of contrary to the feedback we all constantly get. And and it's practical feedback, you know, when you have a budget, when you're responsible for all these things, like it's an investment that someone else is paying for. These things do make sense, like trying to keep the audience as wide as you can, not lose an audience, not take a risk on a story. So the things that I believe in my soul as a writer, and the stories that inspire me in film that have been here that aren't maybe necessarily here anymore, as far as like, you know, what we see on camera.
Yeah.
I was just like, I'm gonna do it.
Yeah.
You know? So the rewarding part is having audiences totally catch things that I didn't even think they would. You know, I've had so many audience members repeat lines back to me that I'm like, how did you even remember that?
Yeah.
Or track a character that is, you know, they're not constructed to necessarily track, and everyone really sees something different in every character, not even every hero. You know, and I went into it telling all of my actors, I go, there are no background actors here. And I made sure that every department head treated every non-speaking actor as a principal, and they look like it. You can see the energy is unbelievable.
Yeah.
Like, I know watching in the edit, there's just like how much like talent and star quality is coming in from every face in the frame. And, you know, it was a great lesson for me to learn early on. It's like when you set the bar high and you give everyone that amount of, you know, star treatment, you get something magical on camera.
So. I mean, you did, and the reason people are catching things that you know maybe even is because you really put so much depth into every single take. Like, I mean, I couldn't take my eyes off it the whole time because there was so many moments and parts that I was just trying to take in. Listen, I could honestly do an hour session with you on this because there's so much to talk about, but where are you taking us next? What's next for you, Atlas?
So we're lucky. The festivals have been responding well. We're going to Provincetown International Film Festival next month. I just got news we're also in a really cool festival in Mumbai.
Great.
Escapes. There's also a big Canadian festival. It's honestly, I'm really bad at like the promotional marketing piece. Like I'm really bad, but they're all they're all great. They're like BAFTA qualifying festivals, Canadian award qualifying festivals, Provincetown's an Academy Award qualifying festivals. So these festivals have been unbelievably supportive. So I'm just trying to get through there and try to be my best self. I'm a one-person show right now, so just you know, you know, like to be able to do art and then also to you know, and it gave me a huge amount of respect for all of the sides that I don't work with, like the press and like the marketing people and the distribution side, like having to just get a little bit of a peek into what that looks like just to get a film to a festival. I totally have a newfound respect for what those roles do.
Well, we are here to help you as well, for sure. We're so proud of you because, I mean, goodness me, it's such a hard work you put into to make this film, and my goodness, thank you to all of your cast and crew that made it, because they all did a fantastic job. So welcome to New Filmmakers LA. Thank you for being here. Thank you for Nighthawks, and we're looking forward to your next project. So thank you very much, Atlas.
Thank you.
Thank you, Atlas, everyone.